There is a flame that once burned long before Bethlehem, a flame of celebration, chaos, and light. Every winter, when the nights grew endless and cold, the people of Rome, Greece, and the north gathered around fire and feast. They called it Saturnalia, Sol Invictus, and Yule. There is a flame that once burned long before Bethlehem, a flame of celebration, chaos, and light. Every winter, when the nights grew endless and cold, the people of Rome, Greece, and the north gathered around fire and feast. They called it Saturnalia, Sol Invictus, and Yule. In Persia, far from Rome, a child god named Mithra was said to be born from a rock on December 25th, bringing light to humanity. In Egypt, they spoke of Horus, another divine son of light. Across continents, ancient people shared the same instinct, to call back the sun from the jaws of winter. But centuries later, when the Roman Empire began to crumble, a new belief rose from the East: Christianity. It promised salvation not through ritual, but through faith in one God and one Son. Yet it faced a challenge: how to replace the festivals of fire that people loved. So, the Church made a choice both brilliant and mysterious. Instead of erasing the old, they transformed it. December 25th, once the day of Mithra, became the day of Christ. The sun god became the Son of God, and the flame that once burned for Saturn and Sol Invictus was reborn as Christmas. In the 4th century, Rome was collapsing under its own weight. Civil wars, famine, and doubt spread across the empire. The old gods were silent. The people needed new light. Then came a man who would change everything: Emperor Constantine. In the year 312, before a decisive battle, Constantine claimed to see a vision: a cross of light in the sky. With the words, "In this sign you shall conquer," he won the battle and converted the empire. But rather than destroy pagan customs, he wove them into the new faith. The Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, became a symbol of Christ. Churches were built upon ancient temples, and feast days aligned with solstices. The divine child of the sun became the divine child of God. In the ashes of Saturnalia, Christmas took its first breath. Some scholars say this fusion was political genius. It united Rome's divided hearts, believers and pagans under one holy calendar. But others believe it concealed an ancient memory, one that whispers through every carol and candle: remember the sun. As centuries passed, this new festival grew. The early church fathers debated, should Christians celebrate this day at all? Yet the people would not let it die. In every winter fire they saw not just warmth, but resurrection. The empire had changed, but the ancient fire still burned, now hidden beneath the cross. For centuries the world has celebrated the birth of Christ on December 25th. But what if that date was never written in the Bible? What if the true birth of Jesus lies hidden, not in December but under the stars of spring? The Gospel of Luke tells us, there were shepherds living out in the fields, keeping watch over their flocks by night. In the cold of a Judean winter, no shepherd would remain outdoors. Scholars suggest this passage points to April, when lambs were born and watched under starlight. Astronomers too have searched the skies. The mysterious star of Bethlehem may not have been a star at all, but a rare planetary alignment of Jupiter and Saturn in the year 7 BC, visible from Judea, a sign in the heavens, marking not a miracle but a moment in cosmic history. And yet faith does not rely on calendars. The exact date is not what made the story divine, it was the light it carried. The same light that pagans once saw in the rising sun, now seen in the eyes of a child, born in a humble manger. Still the question echoes, did the Church choose December 25th because it aligned with the Sol Invictus festival? Or was it chosen to symbolize a greater truth, that in the darkest time of year light is reborn? Maybe both are true. Whether by divine design or human decision, the birth of Christ stands as the turning point of history, a moment where faith met astronomy and myth became memory. And so every December, when lights shine through the cold, we are not just remembering Bethlehem, we are repeating an ancient ritual to bring back the sun. When we think of Christmas, we think of symbols. The glowing tree, the shining star, the red-robed man who rides the winter sky. But every one of them, every ornament, every sparkle, carries a story far older than Christmas itself. The Christmas tree, for example, was once a sacred symbol in the north. Long before Christianity, the Norse and Germanic tribes worshipped the evergreen pine, the only tree that never died through the winter. It represented eternal life, the promise that spring would return. In their Yule festivals, they brought these branches into their homes, decorated them with fruits, lights, and runes to invite blessings from the gods. Centuries later, when Christianity spread, the church reinterpreted the tree. Its triangle shape became the Holy Trinity. Its evergreen color, the hope of everlasting life. The Star of Bethlehem, too, has deeper roots. In ancient Babylon, the symbol of a radiant star represented divinity, the meeting of heaven and earth. For Christians, that star guided wise men to the newborn Christ. But for astronomers, it may have been the same cosmic sign that once guided the Magi, Jupiter and Saturn crossing paths in the sky. And what about Santa Claus, the jolly man from the north? Many trace him to Saint Nicholas, a 4th century bishop known for secret gifts. But others point further back to Odin, the white-bearded god who rode across the night sky on an 8-legged horse during the winter solstice, bringing blessings to those who believed. Over time, the bishop and the god merged, and the myth was reborn. So when we hang ornaments or watch snow fall under a shining star, we're not just celebrating a Christian holiday. We're part of something older, a human story that began in forests, temples, and skies. A story of hope, rebirth, and the light that refuses to die. As centuries passed, Christmas changed hands, from pagan ritual to Christian celebration. But in the dark heart of the Middle Ages, the line between sacred and sinful began to blur. For some, Christmas was holy. For others, it was chaos reborn. During the 5th and 6th centuries, Europe was still haunted by its pagan roots. Feasts, fire, and wine flowed freely, too freely for the church. Many bishops saw the winter festival as a mask for the old gods. And so for a time Christmas was discouraged, even forbidden. But faith is not so easily erased. By the 10th century, new traditions began to blend again. Choirs sang Latin hymns beside the fires of Yule, and nativity scenes appeared beside evergreen trees. Once more, the old and new coexisted, not as rivals but as reflections. Across Europe, Christmas became a season of contradictions. Monks prayed while peasants danced. In cathedrals, candles burned for the Christ child, while in taverns, ale flowed for the returning sun. It was both sacred and wild. Then came the Middle English plays, dramatizations of Christ's birth. They transformed theology into theater. The story of Bethlehem spread not through sermons, but through song and stage. The people didn't just hear Christmas, they lived it. By the dawn of the Renaissance, Christmas had been reborn yet again. No longer just a church ritual, it became a festival of community, color, and creation. The flame that had once flickered in Roman temples now burned in every village hearth across Europe, carrying the same message through the centuries. Light returns, and with it, life. As Europe entered the industrial age, faith was no longer the only light guiding humanity. Machines rose, cities grew, and tradition began to fade beneath smoke and steel. Yet in the cold shadow of progress, people longed for warmth, for a memory of something sacred. It was in Victorian England that Christmas found new life. Families began gathering once more around fires and pine trees. Poets and writers rekindled the old flame, none more powerfully than Charles Dickens. His tale, A Christmas Carol, transformed Christmas into a story of kindness, redemption, and hope. Through Dickens' words, the ghosts of past, present, and future reminded the world that the true miracle of Christmas was not divine, but human. A season to remember compassion in a world growing cold with greed. From London to New York, the message spread like candlelight in the dark. At the same time, new images emerged. Santa Claus, shaped by the art of Thomas Nast, dressed now in red and white, became the smiling symbol of generosity. The Christmas tree, popularized by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, turned drawing rooms into sacred groves of light. Music, too, joined the rebirth. Carols like Silent Night and O Holy Night echoed through churches and streets, blending prayer with melody. For the first time in centuries, Christmas belonged not only to the church, but to the world. And so the festival that began as a fire in ancient temples became a light in every home. The son of Mithra, the birth of Christ, the joy of Dickens, all merged into one shared human ritual, to find warmth in winter and to believe, even for one night, that love can still save the world. By the early 20th century, the world had changed again. Factories hummed, cities glowed with electric light, and a new empire under the United States began shaping how the world dreamed. And no dream shone brighter than Christmas. In the 1920s and 30s, advertising discovered something powerful. Christmas wasn't just a holiday, it was emotion. Companies began selling not just products but sentiment, and at the center of it all stood one man, cheerful, red, and unforgettable: Santa Claus. Though Santa had existed for centuries, his image was about to change forever. In 1931, Coca-Cola launched an ad campaign featuring a plump, rosy-cheeked Santa, painted by artist Haddon Sundblom. That smiling figure, with twinkling eyes and a bottle of Coke, became the modern face of Christmas itself. America's movies, music, and media carried Santa across oceans. From New York's glowing windows to Tokyo's neon streets, the same red suit appeared. The same laughter echoed, "Ho, ho, ho." A once local saint had become a global myth. Yet beneath the glitter and the gifts, the heart of Christmas still whispered the same message: generosity, warmth, and the belief that even strangers deserve kindness. The shopping malls replaced the temples, but the ritual, the giving, remained holy in its own way. So when lights flash across skyscrapers and snow falls on city streets, we are seeing an ancient fire reborn in modern form. The fire of Mithra, the joy of Saturnalia, the faith of Christ, and yes, even the smile of Santa Claus. Different faces, same light, because the world in every age still needs a reason to believe. As Christmas spread across the modern world, something strange began to happen. Churches filled with prayers, while shopping malls overflowed with glitter. The sacred and the secular stood side by side, both claiming to hold the true spirit of Christmas. To some, the season became about gifts, lights, and profit, a festival of marketing and excess. To others, it remained a holy night, where silence and song met under the same star. Could both be right? Could both belong to the same story? Historians say this duality is nothing new. From Saturnalia to Bethlehem, from Dickens to Coca-Cola, Christmas has always balanced between heaven and earth, between the divine and the human, between the need to celebrate and the need to believe. In cathedrals, choirs still sing Gloria in Excelsis Deo. In crowded cities, strangers still smile, still give, still forgive. Even those who no longer pray still light candles, perhaps without knowing why. But the act itself keeps the faith alive, because Christmas at its heart was never about religion alone. It was about connection, to family, to hope, to something larger than ourselves. The ancient fire may have changed its name, but its warmth still calls us home, year after year. So when you hear laughter in the snow, when lights shimmer on cold glass, remember, beyond the noise, beyond the glitter, lies the same simple truth that began it all. Light is meant to be shared. Today, Christmas no longer belongs to one faith, one language, or one land. From the icy streets of Moscow to the lantern-lit villages of Asia, billions gather each December, not just to worship, but to remember. Remember warmth, remember light, remember each other. In Mexico, the Las Posadas processions reenact Mary and Joseph's journey, as families light candles through the night. In the Philippines, the Parol, a brilliant star-shaped lantern, shines as a symbol of hope that never fades. In Japan, where few are Christian, Christmas is a celebration of love and giving. Couples share meals, friends exchange gifts, proof that even without faith, the spirit of light endures. The same can be seen in Vietnam, where families decorate trees not just for religion but for reunion, for peace, for joy. In Africa, drumming and dance fill the night. In Europe, ancient carols echo through Gothic cathedrals. In South America, fireworks greet the dawn. Different songs, different colors, but all share the same heartbeat: the return of light after darkness. Every culture paints Christmas in its own color, Yet the pattern beneath is universal: kindness, generosity, renewal. We may call it Christmas, Yule, or solstice, but its meaning is older than all names: to gather, to give, to remember the warmth of being human. So as the world glows every December, as lights flicker from Rio to Hanoi, from Cairo to New York, we are united, not by doctrine, but by devotion, to the same eternal truth whispered through ages. The light within us was always meant to be shared. Strip away the gifts, the glitter, and the noise. What remains? A story of a child born in darkness, of hope that refused to die. That story has lived not just for 2,000 years, but for as long as humanity has needed to remember what it means to be human. Every winter, when the nights grow longest, we light candles not only for faith but for memory, of kindness, forgiveness, and renewal. The message of Christmas was never just believe, it was be light, be warmth in a world grown cold. In every act of giving, in every moment of mercy, the ancient flame flickers again. A flame that once burned in Roman temples, in Buddhist shrines, in Viking halls, in your heart. It is the same fire that says, you are not alone. Humanity has changed. Our cities shine brighter than the stars once did. Yet our need for meaning, for connection, remains the same. Christmas endures because it speaks not to one religion, but to the deepest instinct of life itself, to keep the light alive. That's why even in times of war, soldiers have stopped fighting to sing carols in the cold. Why strangers offer food, warmth, and love without reason. Because the story of Christmas is not about the past. It is a mirror held up to the best within us. So when you see a single candle in the window, or a smile shared with a stranger, remember, the meaning of Christmas is not written in books. It's written in how we treat one another, as long as we can love. The light will never fade. From the fires of Saturnalia, to the manger in Bethlehem, to the neon lights of New York, one flame has traveled through time, passed from hands to hearts, from ancient rituals to quiet prayers. It is the flame that asks us not to worship, but to remember. Remember that light is fragile yet endless, that even in the darkest night, one small spark can ignite a world. Every candle lit, every kindness shared keeps that spark alive. The spark we once called divine. Maybe that's what Christmas truly means. Not a story frozen in time, but a promise that renews itself with every dawn. A promise written not in scripture, but in the beating heart of humanity itself. Across the centuries, the names have changed: Mithra, Christ, hope, love. Yet the flame remains the same. It burns in temples and in homes, in the eyes of children, and in the courage of those who still choose to believe. The flame may flicker, but it never dies, because it does not belong to any one god or creed or season. It belongs to all who choose light over darkness. So when you see a single candle glowing this Christmas, know that you are watching the oldest miracle on earth, a flame that has burned for over 2,500 years. Through empires, faiths, and the silence of space, it was never just the fire of the gods. It is the fire within us, and as long as we remember, the light will never die.